shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the EDventUres in Tech podcast, talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
We are back and more exhausted than ever, right?
You say we're back, we never left.
All right, very funny. Welcome to episode 52 of the EDventUres in Tech podcast. Live at NYSCATE 2023. There goes my voice again. Here it comes. Mission Impossible.
Possible.
It is possible. I said impossible.
You did. Settle down, Tom.
Been a long day. I'm Andrew. We got Dan. Art's back again. And we have a new distinguished guest, our good old friend, Mike Kealy. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've certainly got my steps here on the exhibit floor today. I think I'll be good to eat that Thanksgiving turkey.
There you go. That's it. Well, it's like I've already been eating it with tryptophan since we're tired, right? You know? All right, so let's talk first some sessions, right? We've had sessions for about 3 days now. So, Mike, I'm going to start with you because I know you've been tweeting out a lot or Xing out a lot or reposting, whatever we want to call it. Tell us about some of the sessions you've attended and what your takeaways have been.
Yeah, so today, my district's a school tool district, and school tool was talking about how they are going to integrate AI into the school tools student information system, and they're developing new student data dashboards with a roadmap to hopefully have that come out by September of 2024. So as a district that uses school tool, I'm excited about that, and hopefully it'll be useful for our administration, our teachers, and lead to some impacts on student learning.
That'll be right until you probably switch to a new SIS system, and then you'll be out of luck with it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can always come over and take a look at the Infinite Campus at Wappingers. I know they just launched that.
We are the IC district. That's absolutely true. All right, Mike, what else have you, any others today? Or I know you've hit some AI ones, right?
Yeah, let me just talk about one of the vendors that I encountered. I was talking to Synergy, another student information system, and they're doing a lot with AI too. And so I think that from what I've observed, AI is going to be literally in everything that we touch technology-wise moving forward. And so I think there's some promise for both student information systems, analyzing data, any sort of data sets, especially closed language models that you're going to see the integration of AI to help educators, really.
That's what we need. You know, it's all about efficiency and making things more effective, you know, for the betterment of students and education overall. So, Art, what have you attended, seen? Any of the above?
Oh, geez. Like I usually do, I've been running around to corporate council focus groups, working with the variety of vendors that come in and work with NYSCATE to set up these brainstorming sessions. Did some yesterday, did some today. Conversations, not necessarily about product, just talking about building needs, district needs, student security, student safety, wellness, stayed away from the AI conversation a little bit, which is nice because it's AI. A lot of AI. AI is very heavy. We've talked about that now a few times. Otherwise, I've been doing a lot of collaboration, a lot of conversation with some former colleagues that we get to see while we're here talking to a variety of different vendors. I was just checking out Droplet. Just had a little chat with them today. Talking about digitizing our forms. We do a lot of everything through Google Form. It works, but it's not necessarily efficient. They have a solution where we can email, have our parents do all their forms digitally. It's easier to track, et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of looking at a couple little ideas, seeing what we can run with potentially for the next year, but looking at options because we have a couple different ideas, you know, and this is a great time to look at that because we have so many vendors out here on this vendor floor that it's pretty incredible.
I do think that the exhibit hall is as busy as it has been in years. I mean, even pre-pandemic, I don't remember, I like, it's wall-to-wall now.
Wall-to-wall and downstairs.
Yeah.
We usually don't have downstairs when we're here. Now down by where all the sessions area is, there's a whole new hallway of vendors this year.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it's
including our good friend Justin from Cell Mechanic, who is our insurance Chromebook repair guy.
Right, Dell's down there. There's a lot. Microsoft's out. I mean, it's it's not just the exhibit hall itself. It has really taken over most of the convention center here in Rochester in a good way, because it gives you those opportunities to have those conversations face to face instead of just the phone ringing 10 times and trying to get a conversation about someone. And you're actually able to kind of see the product in action, which makes things or decisions a little bit easier, right? What do you think, Dan?
I'm just thinking, looking around, it's interesting to see how many different things that you can get exposed to in the big exhibition hall. So, as we want to bring it back to our listeners who I'm sure they've attended conferences, seen the exhibition halls, not sure how many of it attended NYSCATE, but like you look at, I just want to throw it out there. For the average teacher, for the average thing, how does these exhibitions and these vendors and everything they have to offer impact the teacher in the classroom?
Right, and there are those products like IXL and Code.org and Edpuzzle and Nearpod and all of those applications are there that are able to give you tutorial sessions or model their products, maybe with some features that you haven't known. There's a ton of different kinds of display panels on site here as well that you're able to kind of literally manipulate and play with to see, well, all right, they're different in many different ways, but what separates their product apart, and that's kind of what they're doing here, and you kind of get the opportunity to see, is this something that's going to be more functional and relevant in the classroom for my teachers, for my students, for my colleagues, etc.
Yeah, and when you're here, you can go from one vendor to the next, and this year there is a large variety of ed tech vendors here. In years past, I find that there was very heavy on one product or another. I think last year was very interactive display heavy.
Yep.
This year there's a huge mix. And what's nice about it is that you go and look at one product and you say, okay, you get to play with it, get to dabble with it, hands-on, go down several booths, check out a similar product that does maybe does it a little bit differently, maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, whichever. But you can hit all of them right now, and you're not sitting there on vendor calls or demo calls. Get it done now. And also, a lot of these vendors do like little PD sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Whatchamacallit, Nearpod's not too far away from us right now at this moment.
The Loud and Rowdy bunch.
The Loud and Rowdies. They've been running different sessions. Promethean runs a bunch of sessions. So when you're here, if it's a product you're looking into or it's a product that you currently have, you can sit down with them and learn a little bit more.
You get the test drive stuff.
When I was on the exhibit floor, I came across a vendor, ProSource, and they are building a gamification platform and curriculum for K through 8 students that centers around project-based learning and getting kids engaged, hands-on. They even had a nice little video sort of overview of their product that I can bring back to the district, to our curriculum department, to teachers in our district, and have people take a look and see if it's something that we're interested in. But I think leveraging the kids' interest, the gamification, the competition among students, I think that can really get them engaged. So I'm looking forward to taking a look at that one.
And tying in the PBL, that's great. Yeah, we'll definitely have to check them out. That's a good one. So there are some more sessions. Dan, talk about some of the sessions. I know you hit on one earlier in an earlier episode.
I got up bright and early today and hit an 8 o'clock in the morning session with our
after a 50-mile run.
With our good friend, friend of the podcast, John Redeker, talking about the obsolescence of everything and the obsolescence of technology and the need to continually adapt and grow and push forward. And I think that's been something that has always been present in education, that things are going to come across, and sometimes it might be the bright shiny object that's there, or something might just be an antiquated system that is no longer relevant to where we're going and what our needs is, and it's how to look. And he gave a nice inspiring lesson, very interactive, conversational with the attendants about looking at instruction and technology, and realize that there is an obsolescence to everything, and how do you always have to look beyond the obsolescence and grow and adapt and always keep moving forward.
That's great. Art, have you hit any sessions itself, or besides the two that we presented on, or have you been just occupied with other things?
No, unfortunately, I've been really occupied. I did get to preside over your guys' presentations, which was awesome yesterday. I liked watching those aha moments of a couple of the people within your groups yesterday.
Right.
I hadn't necessarily gotten to play with Brisket.
Brisket teaching.
Brisket.
Dinosaur barbecue.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We know who's buying tonight.
Yeah. So watching I hadn't seen it personally. I got to watch it as Dan was demonstrating she was a middle school teacher, and she was having that aha moment. And I got to sit there going, hey, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm watching the product itself, but watching this teacher going like, this is how I'm changing this. Like, you watched the gears turn at that moment, and you knew come, let's say, next Monday after the break, she's going to be playing with something like that.
Those aha moments, and that kind of brings it back to where I was going about the exhibition floor and everything that happens here. You get to immerse yourself into something and really speak to people who are familiar with it or who are just curious in it and want to explore with you, and you get those moments. So I think that's the nice thing about these conferences, NYSCATE, the amount of community that's built in, because we all come here, we all attend sessions, but we all get the most inspiration when we're having conversations with people, conversations with a vendor, conversation about a product, and it sparks ideas, and you build a community here.
And that's where I've been fortunate, especially today. I've had a lot of conversations with former colleagues, both of whom at this point are retired educators. They are retired directors of tech, assistant superintendents, but they're still here. They're still working with NYSCATE as volunteers, board members, whichever. And having those conversations with them. What are they seeing? What are they still interacting with? Because as much as they're retired, and as much as, like, even our esteemed friend Paul Rubio, as much as he has been retired.
He's not retired.
So I get to have those conversations with those individuals just about what is happening elsewhere. They're, asking me questions about what it's like going on right now. Like, what are our challenges? And still, like, they're still interested. They're still involved in our learning communities. So I enjoyed being able to sit down with those. One of those was my mentor, who originally pulled me into tech integration and started my career, which has led me to where I am now. So being able to have those conversations with her and just her vision of what's going on right now, those are meaningful conversations that we get to have while we're here.
The networking facet is just super important. I mean, I know we get to see our good friend Mike and other people from the local area, at local conferences, meetings, whatever it may be, but it's a different thing because we're immersed. It's not just a 6-hour or a 4-hour or a 3-hour meeting that we're having. We actually get to have off-the-record conversations, let's say, where a lot of the meaningful conversations and ideas just happen when you are outside of the normal workday because you are immersed in vendor events after, the exhibit floor closes, or NYSCATE events when they have all, like the dueling pianos was great last night. I think we can all agree on that. But we have those opportunities to have the conversations to really start to lay the foundational work of what we can do a year from now. We can look back and say, oh, well, look at that. We thought about this, on this day at NYSCATE 2022. Now look at where we are in 2023 and what's happening, and so on and so forth. I did want to ask Mike. Mike, you attended a session on Brush Ninja, correct?
Yes.
Can you talk about Brush Ninja for me?
Yeah, so Brush Ninja is empowering students to bring art into their instructional day, into their classwork. A student can create a drawing and then bring it to life using Brush Ninja. So you can take this drawing and you can put it in this platform, and you can do it. It looked a little like stop motion in a way.
That's great.
So you could, your drawing or whatever the shapes that you're bringing in, you can make it move and turn it into a GIF and use that in your presentations or on Twitter or any of the social media platforms that you're on. But it really gives students the opportunity to leverage their creative side based on what they're learning in the classroom, and then express themselves and present that information back to the class, to the teacher, in a unique way.
Is it free?
There is a free version of it, but like anything else, there's a premium version as well. But they presented the free version, and there seemed to be a lot that you could do with that.
Robust enough for most of what the students may need, and that's where you want to start. And if somebody sees the value in it, then they're going to go into that premium version that may be more beneficial for how they're doing. I mean, stop motion is a big thing. I know we had talked about that with an activity in the classroom just last year, Dan. And we've typically done a lot of stop motion activities in Google Slides, right? And that was a big Jake Miller thing, that he would always, or Matt Miller, both of them, the Millers. It's just, we are the Millers. Jake, Matt, doesn't matter who, right? They would say that it was really beneficial to use the stop motion in within Google Slides. Well, now Brush Ninja's giving us an opportunity, another platform to be able to create this. And GIFs. Everybody loves GIFs. I'm glad Mike said GIF and not GIF. It's not a peanut butter, right?
I agree, but that's a controversial statement.
Hey, I had to work on my GIFs this morning. You know, we get some good conversations going, and you got to find that right GIF every day. So
I just want to piggyback on Art's discussion about the networking. I attended a session on Saturday with Lynn Girolamo. She's from the Greece School District. I've seen her sessions here before. She's a past presenter, does really great work. Her session this NYSCATE was on AI and how many people are using it, how many students are using it, how many teachers are using it. And right now it's kind of like 50-50, which is an interesting place for technology. Usually one group or another is either behind or ahead. And right now teachers and students are really on a fairly level playing field. Everybody has an equal opportunity to learn and embrace and integrate this into their work, whether it's the student end in producing work or if it's the teacher end in developing lessons. And I thought it was just a really interesting presentation. And then similar to Art, I'm networking with people from Orange County, Ulster County. There's some friends that I've made over the years from Troy up in the Capital region, so the Capital District friends that I have. And it's a really great opportunity to see what all of these different schools, districts, tech integrators, facilitators, coaches, teachers are all doing, administrators. It's really great.
yeah, even like last night, I bumped into a gentleman that I don't want to quite call it a startup cybersecurity company, but a newer cybersecurity company. Happened to just kind of bump into him in the late night, and we started chatting a little bit about the our district, our needs, stuff like that. Just ran into him about an hour ago. Had a nice long conversation, more just about cybersecurity in general, education in general, understanding the BOCES, the RIC atmosphere that a lot of people, at least the vendors, especially new vendors, aren't necessarily familiar with. So we got to learn from one another. Definitely a guy I'm going to have a conversation with to learn more about what to do with cybersecurity. We talk a lot about ed tech, on the podcast, in the office, at these conferences as well. But there's a whole cybersecurity aspect that's going on that our teachers aren't necessarily that familiar with. They hear Ed Law 2D quite often.
Right.
They're getting more familiar with that terminology and those needs. But there's a whole nother framework out there. Mike's in a similar situation as I am, both being tech directors, so we understand that language. But it's not something necessary that we're sharing with teachers or having them involved in yet. Two-factor authentication, and multi-factor authentication, NIST standards, which Kealy and I know too much about that the normal person doesn't. But these are conversations that we get to have here with other experts as we start developing the programs that we need for our districts.
Art, I'm so glad you brought that up. I presented a session actually on Sunday about the NIST for the average user, part 121.5 of the NIST of the Ed Law 2D law. And really, it's educating our average users, our staff, our teachers, TAs, clerical. And MFA, I think if your district's not doing it, it's coming. We're doing it in my district. Many other districts are doing it. And it's like the number one recommendation right now from CISA, MSI, SAC, etc. It's also talking to users about the importance of protecting data, right? So I was talking to conference goers in my session, and I'm like, we have free conference Wi-Fi, but I wouldn't recommend logging into your student information system on it, making sure that you have a secure connection, knowing where you're transmitting that data. You probably don't want to be putting your credit card number in and shopping on Amazon on the free Wi-Fi, because it'd be easy for somebody to duplicate that network and steal the data. Authenticating just on other devices, Internet of Things, right? Copy machines, and that's becoming a new vector for attacks. So the average user has to start being aware of the threats that are out there. It's not just a tech thing, it's an everybody thing, and we all have a responsibility to protecting our network, and each one of our logins is a doorway to the network. It's like your house, right? Most of us lock our doors when we leave to go somewhere. If we're not securing our accounts, blocking our accounts, it's the same opening for a criminal to come in on a network.
Right now, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you brought up multi-factor, two-factor authentication. By establishing that, to my understanding, if I'm correct, it cuts down spamware and malware attacks by 90% just by setting up the two-factor, multi-factor authentication for your district email.
You're correct, but there is still ways around multi-factor, and one of the ways is the human aspect, the social engineering of what the criminals are doing. It's not foolproof. So what they're doing is that they want to try to get into your account, bang on the door per se. They'll keep doing it until you just get so fed up that you click, yes, it's me, and now, boom, they're in your account. So if you experience one of these social engineering sort of schemes, you're going to want to report that to your tech department immediately, because it's not foolproof, because we have emotions and we get annoyed, and when that thing keeps popping up, you're just
and
like,
you're
something's
busy,
wrong.
right?
You're busy.
You're like,
I'm going to click
good.
yes,
I'm done.
and I want this thing to disappear. And,
Yeah.
and that's how the bad actors are really targeting.
My Instacart account gets hit all like on a monthly basis anymore, but it's important, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about it. Most of the time when we set up two-factor, what's it doing? It's sending a text to a cellular device. I get it. Sometimes the teacher's like, well, this is my personal device. There's different ways around it. Mike, I know you set up keys within your district.
We did. We have both. We have users using their cell phones. It's by choice, or they could have requested a security key. Personally, I find the cell phone more convenient. That device is always with me. But I think it's user preference, really. It's about having that human interaction. That's what two-factor is all about, is that a bot, a script can't get into your account. You have that human interaction where I physically have to take an action, plugging in the key, clicking yes on my cellular phone, certainly.
What people, I think, the average user doesn't understand is the levels of security that need to be taking place when we talk about personally identifiable information and Ed Law 2D. And what we're talking about with the security overall, there was a big conversation. It was a big topic last year when we had FBI John, who was a previous guest on the podcast, with some enlightening things that criminals will go to, the lengths that they will go to. As simple as the mailbox, Dan, right? That was mind-blowing for Dan. He's never putting mail out. It's been a year, and he's not put mail back in his mailbox.
I have not put
at least he hasn't put he didn't put the flag up saying, hey, come
Here
steal me, right? But overall, the we're used to it. Whether it's a social media account, whether it's your personal Gmails or Yahoos or Microsoft emails, or your bank accounts. They have been doing it for years, where you've had to have that multi-factor authentication. And now school districts are saying, hey, whoever's saying it, we need to get this done to protect, yes, is it a hassle? Do I want to be that annoying little thing that's tapping on the shoulder? But in the long run, it's going to protect you as an employee. It's going to protect your personal information, because if they get into your school account, there's no saying that they can't, that's easy information because it's your name. Then they can start to look at your personal stuff where there's more, things that they could actually access and steal, let's say, versus just your school stuff.
Right. And when that goes down, let's say there's a cyber attack on your school, malware, whatever, in an email, everybody's going down, because that system's going to go into a lockdown situation. It's not something you're going to want to be in, because we're going to go back to 1994. Your attendance is going to stop being online. Like, everything's going to kind of stop for a moment on you. So
I'm going to have AI take my attendance.
There you go.
I want to mention, you brought up about securing your accounts, and this was something I brought up in my session on Sunday, is not to reuse your accounts for other platforms.
Right.
So you have your utility login, and you have your social media logins, and maybe your personal email. If you're using the same sort of username and password combination, once one of those is breached or hacked by another provider, they are selling that information on the dark web, and criminals are able to piece that information together. There's a website, I'veBeenPwned.com, PWNED, that you can look up to see if your accounts, if there's any information related to it, and on the black web and available and being sold. And if you see your information on there, you're going to want to do a password reset and rethink
immediately
where you're doing that. But
if I go to I've been pawned, am I then pawned?
You probably are. It's going to ask you for a login.
There you go. But folks, listeners, if you're out there, step one, set up multi-factor authentication on your, at least on your email, especially your district email.
And I think that's good for everyone to hear, because not everyone gets that behind the curtains view. Like, we all hear about cybersecurity and how it's important and personal, information to be protected. But sometimes as the teachers in the classroom and in the moment, they look at something that's, they look at something like this and see it as an impediment, and someone's trying to stop them from doing something. But it's just the environment that we are in right now.
Right, and teachers are like, hey, we're just teachers. They don't think much beyond the classroom and their
they have a lot going on.
They have a lot going on, absolutely. But at the same time, we are a large business entity with a human resource department, with a business office, with X number of students, depending on the size of your school district. That's a lot of personal identifiable information.
Sure.
especially a business office or a human resource office.
Right.
They have a lot of information on both students as well as staff. If that gets hacked and it gets out there, that can be very detrimental.
And even like getting away from the back end security, it's just some basic physical security. So New York State Ed Privacy Office, Luis DeCandia, Chief Privacy Officer, came out and said that one of the number one reports of breaches was because of laptops, teacher laptops being left in their car while they go to the gym after work. Cars getting broken into. How much PII are you probably storing on a laptop if you've downloaded your files, class lists, addresses, etc.? And so just securing your physical devices, if you have a mobile device, Chromebook, laptop, iPad, MacBook, making sure that it's secure even when you leave school and not just leaving it on your front seat.
The one thing I would like to offer a tip, and I got this from last year, and I think Dan did too, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I started using a password manager. I use Bitwarden. It's free $99. We love that. And that was out of our conversation with FBI John, and it saves everything on my phone. I mean, I get your phone also has their password manager and everything like that, but it does prompt you. You should change your password. It's too easy to guess, and and then there's a password to get into the master password, and you can set them up and import them and then change things as needed. But we're always looking for something to make things easy, because I get it. None of us can remember all these passwords or logins and usernames, and then you reset it. But the big thing is you want to take that extra step, that extra layer of security to ensure that you're not going to have an issue down the road, because I've never experienced it, knock on wood. However, it's a nightmare if any of these criminals out there can get your information.
Yeah, and teachers, students, whomever's listening, please stop taping your password inside your laptop or underneath your keyboard. We know where it is. So does everybody else.
Right.
Please stop.
All right. Any final thoughts, Dan?
Just final thoughts for today as we go through. I'm watching the exhibit hall kind of go down. I just see, it's one of those things. Everyone's out here vying for business. Everyone's here looking for customers. Everyone's here looking for ideas. But also, what's also here is you get to see options. And a lot of things we've been talking about with AI and everything with options is you need to immerse yourself into the environment in order to see what the options are there and what works best for you. So while you might not be here with us at NYSCATE, there's still a community online with NYSCATE. There's still regional areas.
Go to X.
Go to X or Twitter, but also have those conversations outside of your own personal bubbles, because you'll realize that other people are experiencing the same thing as you, or other things you're envisioning someone else has put into practice, and it'll give you the insights to go there. So just like, we're talking with our two tech directors here, is they're learning how to meet and how to network and how to fit the needs to make sure that everyone is operating in a safe environment, that everything's going through, and being able to weigh options, getting yourself involved into the community that you're working in with other teachers, other areas, going to professional development and attending regional conferences, going to meetups, sharing things online is going to be beneficial to everybody in the long run.
Yeah, and Dan, that being said, follow NYSCATE.
Oh, please, yes.
Absolutely.
NYSCATE is free to join. Definitely follow them. I know they are all over social media, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it. They're on all the major platforms. They host a number of meetups, regional conferences, professional development opportunities throughout the year.
A lot of free stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of free stuff. Like, again, it is free to join. There's quite a bit out there. It is a great way to get started within this learning community.
You'll definitely grow your network.
And for those at home who couldn't make it to the conference, hashtag NYSCATE23, get a taste of the conference. People are constantly tweeting that out. Their sessions, their experiences, pictures, videos, GIFs. So it's a great way to...
I love it, Mike. You're on board.
Great way to get a little taste of the conference if you couldn't come up here.
That's great. All right, this is going to wrap up episode 52. Thanks again for listening on all the platforms. Greatly appreciate that support. Until next time, Tech Hard, Work Smart, Live an Adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at A Nicola Tech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.